For anybody out there on the interwebs, we are waiting for Commissioner Jones to arrive, and when she shows up, we will get started. So we're probably about 5 or 10 minutes out from starting today's Planning Commission meeting. Are we good? Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the July 6, 2023 meeting of the Mendocino County Planning Commission. I'm going to call today's meeting to order. Today's meeting is a hybrid meeting of the Planning Commission with participants both in person and digitally. The public may participate digitally in meetings by sending comments to pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.org or orally via telecomment in lieu of personal attendance. All public comment will be made available to the commissioners, staff, and the general public after processing by staff, and can be viewed as attachments to this meeting agenda on the Planning Commission agenda page. To submit public comments via telecomment, please use the telecomment form found at www.mendocinocounty.org/government/planning-building-services/meeting-agendas. Clerk, can you please conduct a roll call?
Commissioner Ramos.
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Vice Chair Pollen.
Here. Do we have determination of legal notice?
And legal notice has been determined on each of the matters on the agenda today.
Thank you very much. Agenda item number 3, Director's Report. Director Krog.
Thank you. Good morning, Julia Krog, Planning and Building Services Director. So just a couple updates for the commission. We did receive the second draft, administrative draft of the Inland Zoning Code update. So staff is reviewing that right now. So I just wanted to let you guys know that that's underway with our office. And then in addition, on June 20th, the Board of Supervisors gave several directions to the department. And the first is to direct staff to essentially look for funding to double potential densities within zoning districts within the county, considering environmental constraints as well as part of that. So that direction, again, was just received on the 20th, and that's something that we will be looking to find funding to cover the cost of doing that work. It's, would include a general plan amendment as well as zoning updates as well. The second item that came out of that meeting from the Board of Supervisors was direction to staff to repeal the inclusionary housing ordinance, which is in Title 20 or Section 20.238 of County Code. So we will be working on that along with our counsel's office to draft up the appropriate documents that'll come through the Planning Commission and then ultimately to the Board of Supervisors. And I don't yet have a tentative timeline for that, but at least wanted to give you an update that that is going to be coming your way in the near future. And that concludes my director's report. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for any of the commissioners?
Sounds great.
Commissioner Ramos? One quick question. The inclusionary housing provision, was that not, I could be wrong on this, was there not some judicial decree that kind of pushed the county in that direction?
I appreciate that question. We are still conducting research into what is necessary to essentially repeal that ordinance. We are doing our homework looking at past settlement agreements that had come from litigation with the county just to confirm that there's no concerns associated with that. So I don't have a complete definitive at this moment. We're still in the fact gathering stage.
Oh, great. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Agenda item number 4, matters from the public. Members of the public are welcome to address the Planning Commission on items not listed on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission is prohibited by law from taking action on matters not on the agenda. Individuals wishing to address the Planning Commission under matters from the public may do so via email or Zoom. For information on each of these methods, call the Planning and Building Department at 707-234-6650 or visit mendocinocounty.org/government/planning-building-services/meeting-agendas. All correspondence will be attached to the item and made available online on the Planning Commission agenda page. If any members of the public logged into the Zoom meeting wish to speak under public expression and have not completed the telecomment form, please use the raise hand feature to allow staff to add you to the meeting. Instructions for using the raise hand feature are found on the agenda for this meeting. Clerk, do we have any requests for telecomment under public expression?
I have a comment that was submitted this morning, and each of you have a copy, and I posted it to the website.
Thank you. Anybody on Zoom?
We do have Matt Kennedy on Zoom for public comment.
All right. Maybe hear from Mr. Kennedy. And I believe we have 3 minutes for public comment. Mr. Kennedy, if you can hear me, you'll have 3 minutes, and when you start talking, we'll start your timer. Mr. Kennedy, are you, we see your yellow hand. We do not hear you.
Into infinity. Maybe he's actually wanting to talk on something else.
Perhaps.
Sort of like an airport, walkway, doesn't it?
Is this an IT issue, or are we just not hearing from this member of the public?
Maybe give us just a moment here to
Sure.
confirm we're not having an audio issue or something within chambers here.
Oh my God, it was the longest wait. I had no idea that was in store for me. And then there was another one even after that.
Hello?
And of course, you're stuck behind a long line of cars that are going through.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, now we can, Mr. Kennedy. Give us just one moment.
Oh, thank you.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you. Actually, I was not intending to make comments on any public matters, but rather on agenda item 6B.
Okay, well then we'll call you back on item 6B. Thanks for sticking with us.
Thank you.
Any members of the public here in person today wishing to speak on their public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item 5, consent calendar. Commissioners, anybody have any revisions or comments regarding the minutes? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
I second.
Commissioner Jones,
Weird. My little guy is gone. There we go. Yes.
Commissioner Ramos,
Yes.
and Chair, or Vice Chair Pollen.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Item number 6A of the regular calendar, this is case number MS_2022-004, Erickson Brothers Property LLC, minor subdivision of an existing 10-plus acre parcel into 4 parcels and 1 remainder parcel. Parcel 1 would be 0.74 acres, parcel 2 would be 0.75 acres, parcel 3 would be 4.39 acres, parcel 4 would be 1.09 acres, and the remainder parcel would be 3.15 acres. I will open the public hearing on this. Clerk, has there been any correspondence or telephone calls received?
There has been no correspondence or phone calls.
Thank you. All right, staff presentation, please.
Good morning, everyone. This is Liam Crowley, planning staff. I have a brief presentation for you here, so I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Liam, could you put the microphone a little closer to your mouth, please?
I don't know if I can get it closer, but try and talk a little bit louder. Is that a little better?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, so as was stated, this is minor subdivision MS 2022-0004. Go to the next. So these are just a couple maps showing the parcel. The map on the left, you'll see this parcel is just north of the city limits of Ukiah. And this is an aerial photo. You'll see that there's 3 existing structures. This is TC Automotive, this is Roto-Rooter, and this is an existing single-family home. I'll go to the next slide. And here's the tentative map for the subdivision. You'll see the existing structures here and the parcels laid out. North State Street right along here and Ford Road. This parcel number 1 here, you'll see has access from North State Street. There's a curb cut, as you see in this note right here. Parcel 2 would be getting access from this easement here and also from Ford Road right here. Parcel 3 has access from Ford Road. There's a curb cut right in this area here. And parcel 4 would get access from Ford Road or this easement along here. And the remainder parcel would gain access from this 50-foot easement as well. I'll just note this parcel is within the general commercial zoning district. You'll see the neighboring parcels. This one to the north is within the county jurisdiction and is also commercially zoned. To the east here is public facilities zoning as a fairgrounds property. I think the Tree of Life Charter School. To the south of the site, these parcels here are within the city limits, and the fairgrounds parcel to the south here is also within city limits. So as far as general plan and zoning consistency goes, there's no physical development proposed as part of this subdivision, and all of the proposed lots meet the 6,000 square foot minimum lot size for this zoning district within both the water and sewer district. Minimum setbacks for these existing structures and any new structures would need to be shown on the parcel map, and that's in condition 11 in the resolution. The front setbacks in this case would be 10 feet, and the side and rear setbacks, there would be none except that any side or rear yard contiguous to any other district besides commercial or industrial would have a side yard of 5 feet and a rear yard of 20 feet. So staff reviewed, and based on the bar graph and the other notes on the tentative map, it seems that the existing structures do meet the minimum setback requirements. But again, that would be required to be shown on the parcel map prior to recordation. And then as far as consistency with the Division of Land Regulation goes, there's a couple things to note here. First, parcel 4 would have an average depth slightly greater than 3 times the average width of the lot. This is addressed by section 1752 in the Division of Land Regulations. So it's a slight deviation from the norm, but the Planning Commission may approve a slightly greater average depth than width if the parcel is being used for commercial purposes, and in this case it is. So staff supports the slightly greater depth. In addition to that, parcel 2 would create a flag lot. You can see that there's a small access strip from Ford Road here. Staff also supports the flag lot pursuant to section 1752L, as it meets the access strip meets the depth and width requirements, and DOT did not request any improvements for the strip itself at this time. As I mentioned before, access is available to each lot via a county road or an easement. The parcel, or the resulting parcels, would be in the Millview County Water District and the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District. Did receive comments back from both agencies, and they both had no comment on the proposal. In addition, we recently received some comments from the Ukiah Valley Fire Authority, which I'll address in the next slide here. So an initial study and negative declaration was prepared for the project pursuant to CEQA, and no significant impacts were found. As I mentioned, comments were received from Ukiah Valley Fire Authority on June 15th, and staff recommends adding a condition of approval based on those comments, and I prepared a short memo for you, and I'll present the kind of red line resolution with that added condition as well. As I mentioned, there was no comment was received from Millview County Water District on June 27th. And so to conclude, staff is recommending approval per the staff report, the memo, and the revised resolution. So let me go ahead and go over the comments that were received from Ukiah Valley Fire Authority quickly. These are the comments here. These comments, as you'll notice, mostly apply to new development. And as I mentioned, there's no new development proposed as part of this subdivision. So staff is just recommending a condition of approval that essentially memorializes these comments. And I think that's the end of my presentation. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing and share the proposed condition of approval in the revised resolution. One moment here. Okay, so here is the resolution with the red lines. There's nothing to change on these first few pages. Just an extra note here, since Diana is out today. should be over there. It would be Clifford Paulin, Vice Chair for the resolution. Nothing to change on this page. And then here's the added condition based on Ukiah Valley Fire Authority's comments. Just this condition number 6 here, essentially requesting written verification from Ukiah Valley Fire Authority that those comments have been addressed and met. And then the only other changes are just renumbering the subsequent conditions after that. Ooh. So other than that, there would be no changes. So I'll just scroll back up to the condition in question there. And yeah, so as I mentioned, staff is just recommending approval per the revised resolution and staff report and memo. And that's all I have. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Liam. Questions from the commissioner or staff? Okay, thanks. I'd invite the applicant to make a presentation if the applicant is present here today.
Please come up to the podium.
It doesn't have to be extensive, but if you do want to say anything, you need to come up to the mic and please state your name for the record.
Is this on? There it
Now
is.
you're on.
Okay.
Please- yeah.
John Lazaro, Caldwell Banker Mindo Realty. We've read through the conditions of approval. I don't have to make a presentation, I don't believe, that unless you have any questions.
Any questions from the commission for the applicant? Okay, thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
All right, we'll now invite public comment. The commission will now hear public comment on this item. The commission will start with public comments in the room and then hear from telecomments that are connected virtually via Zoom. If you are called to speak, please state your name for the record. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Speakers are asked to please address their comments to the meeting chair and to refrain from using profanity or engaging in conversation with members of the audience or the staff. Are there any members of the public in the room that would like to speak to this? All right, seeing none. Are there any members on Zoom that would like to speak to this?
I have no members of the public on Zoom.
All right, thank you very much. Any final remarks from staff?
Nothing from me, thank you.
Okay, I'm guessing no final remarks from the applicant? Okay. I will close the public comment. Thank you, Jim, keeping me honest. Any additional questions or concerns from the commission? All right, I'll close the public hearing. This matter is now before the commission, and I will invite a motion from the commission.
I would move that we adopt the resolution of the Planning Commission adopting a negative declaration and granting a minor subdivision, including the revisions to the special conditions that were presented today for the project located at, oh, there's no street address. Project located in the staff report. How about that? And thanks, Liam, for a nice staff report and a lovely PowerPoint.
I will second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Clerk, can we conduct a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Ramos,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Vice Chair Paulin.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. Agenda item number 6B, case number U_2022-0012, Mendocino Unified School District, Coastal Development Major Use Permit to install new recycled water pipelines, irrigation systems, fire hydrants, and a new recycled water storage tank. I'll open the public hearing. Mr. Clerk, has there been any correspondence and/or telephone calls received?
Did not receive any correspondence or phone calls.
All right, thank you very much. All right, may we have presentation from staff, please?
Yes, one moment. Robert Simmons, planner. First, a quick correction. The requested permit appears on the agenda and throughout the staff report as a coastal development major use permit. This term doesn't actually appear in the zoning code. The request is instead simply for a coastal development use permit. Project would expand the storage and use of recycled water on properties owned by the Mendocino Unified School District and along the public right-of-way to offset potable water use and provide additional fire protection. Project is located in the coastal zone throughout the town of Mendocino and surrounding environs. The project includes new recycled water pipelines, irrigation systems, 13 fire hydrants, those are the magenta circles on the on-screen image, and a new 250,000-gallon recycled water storage tank. Recycled water pipelines would be constructed within portions of the Mendocino County right-of-way on Kelly Street, Ukiah Street, Casman Street, Little Lake Street, Lansing Street, Little Lake Road, School Street, and within the state right-of-way on State Route 1, where it crosses right there. A new irrigation system would be installed at Friendship Park, and recycled water irrigation services would be provided to the Mendocino High School and the K-8 school. A recycled water storage tank would be installed at school district-owned property at 44020 Little Lake Road. That would be the tank site on screen. Project is entirely located in an area identified in the 1982 Coastal Groundwater Study as having critical water resources. That's the map on the left on screen. A key tenet of the California Coastal Act and the County Certified Local Coastal Plan is that development shall, if possible, occur in areas where public services are available and that capacity expansion shall be limited. The purpose of this project is not to increase the area's development potential, but instead to increase water security and fire protection for the development that currently exists. It should be noted that there is a separate coastal development use permit proposed by the school district to expand emergency potable water capacity in the area. That's U 2023-0004, and that'll come before this body separately. On the right is a map of the water district. This is primarily going to be located within the bounds of the Mendocino Community Services District. However, the tank site is located outside of it. That's that tail on the easternmost portion. Project runs through and along several general plan designations and zoning districts and crosses the border between the town of Mendocino and the broader coastal zone. That's divisions 3 and 2 of the Mendocino County Code Title 20, respectively. Under the definitions in the zoning code, the project would be considered minor impact utilities, which are allowed in all Division 2 and 3 zonings. The general plan does not use consistent use type terminology, but the project does fit into an allowable use for every designation it crosses. And we can return to this slide if you'd like me to go into this in further detail. Lead agency for the project, the Mendocino Unified School District, found that the environmental impacts of the project can be mitigated so that no negative adverse environmental impacts will result, and so adopted Mitigated Negative Declaration, or MND, SCH 2022-020568 on April 21st, 2022. This was prepared by GHD, their agents, and I believe Matt Kennedy is here to represent them. The MND identified several mitigation measures, all of which have been incorporated into the recommended conditions of approval. We can go into more detail on these impacts and these measures, but as the agents are online, I would probably defer most questions to them. Staff has reviewed the initial study in MND and recommends that the Planning Commission find the analysis and mitigation measures contained therein adequate to mitigate any potential environmental effects. A separate notice of determination will be filed for the county's decision, which will differ slightly from the one on screen, as the original NOD contained a few errors, minor errors. The Archaeological Commission and the County Department of Transportation requested additional conditions, which have also been included, though I would note that the applicant's agent has expressed concerns regarding the burden presented by Condition 10, requiring archaeological and tribal monitoring. Staff has concluded that as conditioned, all requisite findings can be made for the project and recommends approval of the requested coastal development use permit. The resolution has been updated to reflect that Vice Chair Paulin would be signing, as Chair is not present. That concludes staff's presentation, and I am available for questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the commissioners for the staff? All right, thank you for the staff report. We have, now it's time for the applicant presentation. Is Mr. Kennedy appearing on behalf of the applicant, or is he a public?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. I am here as a representative of the applicant, and just want to express my appreciation to the commission for moving this coastal development permit forward. This project has been over 5 years in the making, and it's going to bring great benefit to the community of Mendocino. I won't go into the details of the project except just to note that the project is 100% grant funded through a Clean Water State Revolving Fund grant issued through the Department of the Department of Finance and the State Water Resources Control Board. And then one note on the condition 10, which the planner had noted during his presentation, and just that the concern that we had on that condition is a financial one. It's a condition that would, we estimate, add a couple $100,000 to the cost of the project, may require us to scale back, such as eliminating fire hydrants or irrigation areas in order to cover that cost. I also want to note too that as part of the grant application approval by the state, they're conducting a separate cultural resources study, basically as their due diligence prior, because there's federal funding involved in the grant. As part of their due diligence for the environmental and the cultural, they are preparing to do some test excavations or test pits in one area that they believe may be the, I'll say, more significant cultural area, which is down on the far western end of the project. And it's our hope that when those results are available, they may further support that archaeological and the Native American, the continuous monitoring is not necessary, and we'll certainly share those results with the planner and with this commission. I think that generally covers the comments that I wanted to make on this, and again, thank you for considering the application, and we're excited to see this project move forward for the benefit of the school district and the community.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Any questions from commissioners for the applicant? Mr. Jones?
I have a couple of questions, Mr. Kennedy. First, having worked with tribes quite a bit, I think they're more interested in the Native American monitoring part than the archaeological monitoring part, and so I'm wondering what your feeling would be about if we modified this special condition to just require Native American monitoring throughout the extent of the project. I know when I constructed the Fort Bragg Coastal Trail, that was considered sufficient by both the tribe and the archaeologist. That's my first question. And my second question, I'm not sure if this is to staff or to the applicant, but I was wondering if there was any growth-inducing kind of analysis of the fire suppression capacity of the system, if you thought about that.
I'll start with your first question. Removing the requirement for archaeological monitoring, I would not take any exception to that. Our archaeologist who performed the cultural resources study in support of the initial study, Mitigated Neg Deck, did not recommend cultural monitoring based on their research, literature review, and pedestrian survey. And we're hoping that the additional follow-up field investigation that the State Division of Financial Assistance is performing will further support that that recommendation or conclusion. Regarding growth-inducing analysis, we did not investigate growth-inducing potential for the project. Our approach here is to expand the use of recycled water in to benefit the community in, I'll say, three key ways, or two key ways. One is that the Mendocino Unified School District is unable to irrigate with recycled water to the extent that they would like to, because there's a lack of conveyance system. So really what this project will do is allow them to irrigate all of the play fields that they own, which they're currently not able to. and they're not irrigating with potable water really since the start of the drought. So this recycled water system would further support a reduction in the use of limited groundwater supplies for non-potable purposes. And then the other benefit is the increased fire protection that this project would bring. The community of Mendocino has no dedicated fire protection outside of a couple of tanks that supply water to small residential developments, and this would significantly augment the existing system that serves Mendocino, which is a school district owned water system. So those are the only fire hydrants in town, are those that were installed as part of the school district's water system. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I was aware of the benefits of the system, and I don't argue against those at all. My question was a little bit more constrained than that, in that I know that a lot of commercial uses are limited by their ability to get sufficient firefighting flows, and I just don't know if that is an issue currently in the town of Mendocino or not, because it looks like this would relieve that as a problem, but I just don't know if it's currently an issue or not.
Would you like me to go ahead? Okay. Julia Krog, Planning and Building Services Director. Right now in the town of Mendocino, they also have groundwater extraction permit requirements. So I think more so commercial development has been limited more so by those groundwater extraction permits than fire suppression system being available. I think this will overall be a benefit to the community, but it's because there's so many other factors at play in commercial expansion or growth of those types of improvements, then I don't believe that it'll cause any growth-inducing impacts. I'm not aware that there has been limitations on folks who've wanted to do activities but can't because of fire suppression issues. Yes.
Yep. I just know for like higher density hotels, for example, you need much better firefighting flows than even places in Fort Bragg have currently, so I wasn't sure if it was a similar challenge here or not. And then can I ask one last question of staff? Just wanting to understand where the request for archaeological Native American monitoring was coming from. Did the tribe ask for Native American monitoring?
Yeah, actually, could I just add on to the previous question briefly? So to add on, the hydrants were not Rob Simmons planner. The hydrants were not viewed as growth-inducing, but instead addressing an existing need. The Mendocino Town Plan, while it does state that any public works additions should not result in increased capacity, it does include the line that they may include a reasonable margin of safety for fire protection for the town, and staff felt that this fell into that. And then in regards to your second question, the tribal monitoring did specifically come from, I believe, the Sherwood Valley Band of Pomo. It was not mentioned in their letter, which I can also pull up if you'd like. But they were also present at the Archaeological Commission hearing and brought it up there. Prior to them raising the issue of tribal monitoring, one of the other commissioners, whose name I don't remember off the top of my head, brought up the archaeologist monitoring as a separate issue, and then they were combined together.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I have one question. Again, this is around that condition number 10. I know that for many of our other projects that we condition, there is sort of a standard condition that says that if during ground disturbance activity any artifacts are found, that they have to halt and then bring in sort of a higher level of scrutiny at that point. Is that something that would be available to us, and would that address the concerns? Again, I haven't seen this this higher level of scrutiny asked for by the Archaeology Commission, so I'm curious as to why they're requiring it in this case, and if that other level of scrutiny would be sufficient to meet their concerns.
Yeah, what I believe you are referring to is what's usually known as the discovery clause in the Mendocino County Code. It is usually applied as a standard condition, although it actually applies regardless of whether it's in the condition or not. It applies to all ground disturbance in the county, regardless of whether there's a permit at all. In this particular case, I believe the issue that was raised in the Archaeological Commission hearing was that the town of Mendocino, in general, is considered at higher risk of finding materials, and so the additional review is warranted, the commission felt.
I guess I'm just, from sort of a pragmatic perspective, I'm curious how it would differ. I mean, if you have a monitor on site, they're only going to know if you discover something when you're doing ground disturbance activities. And so I wonder if the discovery clause was utilized, if that would be sufficient or not. And I don't know if you can do that analysis on the fly here.
As I understand it, the Archaeological Commission is the county's experts in this area, so as a planning staff, I don't really feel qualified to address that question.
Director Krog, do you have any additional insight on this?
You know, I was not present at the Archaeological Commission meeting for this particular item, but, you know, oftentimes they will make these recommended conditions. The Planning Commission does, of course, have the authority to decide whether or not those conditions are appropriate for the particular project at hand. And there could be a happy medium found for this particular condition if the commission is concerned about the potential financial cost associated with conducting the monitoring. You know, I know we've had a couple projects in the recent past here where the commission has done some modifications to conditions to try to make it a little bit more reasonable or palatable for the applicant and their particular project. And I think, you know, we haven't determined the cost estimate, but we heard from the applicant earlier, they estimate it to be a $100,000 to $200,000 expense to include the monitor. As Mr. Fitzsimmons had said, regardless of what work is done, they're going to be subject to the discovery clause. So, you know, there could be the, you know, one suggestion may be to have a tribal monitor that's available on call or something like that in the event of a discovery to make sure that they're getting eyes on at the very get-go. How the discovery clause is written right now, though, is they have to halt all work and contact our office before they're able to proceed with any additional ground disturbing activities. So there may already be coverage there from the existing county regulations.
So I'd love to just chime in here because I've done an actual very large project that went through 23 different archaeological sites. And so archaeological concerns were a very big issue in that project. And I will just take exception with the idea that it will cost $100,000 to have a Native American monitor during this project. They just are very inexpensive. And you only need to have them there when you're actually doing ground disturbing activities. So that doesn't include laying the pipe or refilling with soil. I will say that on the coastal trail at one point, I thought we didn't need an archaeological monitor, and I had a regular contractor in there working. He didn't see anything, but when I had an archaeologist come later, they saw a lot of stuff. So it is a little bit specialized in terms of the skill that someone is looking for. And and here I'm like getting into like my opinion, but I think it's important to honor tribal communities and their concerns. And so for me, with this special condition, I would be fine with modifying it to Native American monitoring. I am conscious that Mendocino is a historic area, though. And so there is the potential for true archaeological, like not prehistory, but post-white people coming here, stuff being discovered. So I'm kind of on the fence about that. Anyway, my opinion. But I suppose we should probably have a public hearing, although it doesn't look like there's anybody here.
Oh, I appreciate that, Commissioner Jones. Okay. Well, let's see. Where the heck are we in our script right now? All right. Where we'll move to public comment. The commission will now hear public comment on this item. We'll start with comments in the room, and then we'll hear from telecommenters that are connected virtually via Zoom. Before I go down the whole script, I don't see anyone in the room wishing to speak. Do we have anyone on Zoom wishing to speak?
I don't have anybody on Zoom wishing to speak on this item.
All right, well, I don't have to admonish anyone not to swear at us then. Let's see. Staff, do you have any final remarks?
Nope.
Do we have any final remarks from the applicant?
Thank you. Just one, the estimate that I noted to Ms. Krog, that was based on a cost that we had received from the Sonoma State University Anthropologic Society, or that group, and it was for the archaeological monitoring, not the tribal monitoring.
Okay, thank you. All right, I will now close the public comment because I forgot to do that. Okay, well, let's see. Any additional questions or comments from staff? Do we want to propose any modifications to anything here?
Yeah, I'm game to request a modification to special condition 10, and that would be to strike archaeological and, so it just says Native American monitoring, and it should say the applicant shall retain a Native American consultant to conduct Native American monitoring by a locally affiliated tribal member. Maybe we should just say the applicant shall hire a Native American monitor from a locally affiliated tribal member. Let's just leave it at that. And I think the monitor, if archaeological resources would be able to probably help identify those. So I think the rest of it, and you'll also have to strike archaeological or Native American and just say Native American monitoring may be reduced to spot checking in consultation with the applicant as warranted.
I wonder, does staff want a few minutes to do those modifications and then bring it back for our consideration?
Sorry.
Great.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I guess you didn't need me to do that.
Is 10 minutes enough time?
Oh, absolutely.
Is 10 minutes too much time?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
5
Yeah,
minutes.
that's
All right,
fine.
let's
Yeah.
take a 5-minute break and then we'll reconvene.
Coming back at 10:30.
Coming back at 10:30. Yes. Commission, do we have the amended version of the resolution?
Yes,
Review, please.
I'll share screen in a moment. So this is the red line version of the resolution that was published with the agenda packet. There are no changes required to the findings, although there is the change that vice chair is present as opposed to the chair. And then condition 10 has been amended to read Native American monitoring. The applicant shall retain a Native American consultant to conduct monitoring of all project-related ground disturbing activities. Native American monitoring shall be provided by a local tribal member. The monitor shall have the authority to halt and redirect work should any archaeological resources be identified during the monitoring. And that's essentially all of the changes.
Does that meet your needs, Commissioner Jones?
Looks great.
All right. Well, then I will entertain a motion.
Oh, you're looking at me. Okay.
Yes, I am.
Before I make a motion,
Okay.
I do want to just mention that Diana called me from her vacation and was disappointed not to be able to be here during this hearing. So I just wanted to say that. And with that, I would like to recommend that we adopt the coastal development permit for KCU-2022-0012, Mendocino Unified School District, and the associated mitigated negative declaration, and subject to all the special conditions as revised during this hearing.
And just confirming that is by resolution.
By resolution, yes.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry. Thought that was obvious.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Great.
Oh, you want me to vote? No, he hasn't.
Commissioner Ramos,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pollen.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right, agenda item number 7, matters from staff. Staff have any additional matters today?
We do not. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Matters from the commission. Any commissioners have any items for today? All right, thank you very much. Well, then I will move on to item number 9, adjournment. I will invite a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.